Okay, could I ask the Binghamton City Clerk to do a roll call for us, please?
Yes, I'll start with Binghamton. So Councilman Scaringi is absent. Councilwoman Resnetti,
Present.
Councilwoman Riley,
Present.
Councilwoman Friedman is absent. Councilman Burns,
Present.
Councilman Scanlon,
Present.
and President Strawn.
Present.
That's 5 here for Binghamton, 2 absent, Scaringi and Friedman. For Johnson City, Mayor Meany. Trustee Giblin is absent. Trustee Walker. Trustee Brown. And Trustee Jacina, am I saying that? Jacina is absent.
Trustee Jacina will not be with us tonight.
Okay. So that's 3 here, 2 absent for Johnson City, Giblin and Jacina.
Okay, at our last meeting, we had agreed to have a public comment period. I don't think we're bound by the same rules technically that we have, but do we have anybody that's here from the public per se that wants to comment? Because I wasn't sure, because we wanted to honor everybody's time too, so I didn't want to make rules on the fly, but if we have to, we will. So if we have nobody from the general public in the room, then we will proceed. Okay, so obviously our goal tonight at the end of this meeting is to vote and the vote on the proposed budget for the joint sewer plant. So I just want to make a couple comments and we can open up for some discussion. I don't think we have any we don't think we have to keep total formalities here. I think at the start of this, we'll just have an open discussion. And then if at some point, if anybody has any if we have any formal amendments, then we can vote on them. I think with our new setup here and the thing, we should be able to hear everybody. If we vote on anything, we can do voice votes to move it along. I think it'll be obvious if anybody is, yay or nay to not do a roll call and everything. I'm just kind of setting, is that correctly? You're okay with all that? So my general comment is that generally speaking, I think this is an excellent budget. I think a lot of work has been done on it. So, it's not like we're going to relitigate this thing line by line and go back through everything. But obviously, after going through it before, this is our opportunity and responsibility to, represent each of our municipalities and the ratepayers by default that we and our constituents that we represent. So, so I think we should just have a discussion about any items that anybody has looked at over the last period of time in between meetings. I will say that, my thought as in the 30,000-foot view is that while the budget in total does go down 1.46%, the operational costs really actually increase about 6% in this budget. And that's not a good or bad thing, it just is. And I think that that's a number that we should at least work on the fringes if there's something that we can agree on to mitigate that just a little bit. My understanding is that the budget as it goes out the door is funded by the municipalities, thus the ratepayers. And if there's anything excess in here or things that can be trimmed, obviously the sewer plant always comes back to us with budget transfers and things that need to be changed on the fly. And we always address those as fast as we can. So if something gets trimmed a little bit or something a little bit extra that's in here that we can cut out and cut that price tag on the front end to the municipalities and the ratepayers, I think we should at least have a conversation and consider that. But that's not certainly everything in it or to pick apart every single line. I know that's, at least from my perspective, that's not what this section is about or what we're here to do. Does anybody have any initial thoughts on that? Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
President Strawn, point of order. I think we need to have 9 for a quorum, or not for a quorum, but to take an official vote on any changes to this budget. We need a supermajority, and seeing only 8 members here, I don't think we could accomplish anything.
Oh, boy.
It was my understanding that we need a simple majority of both boards.
Where's our attorney? How come there's not an attorney here? We do need we need an attorney's opinion. I mean,
I don't know if that would have qualified anyway. Would Mr. Shager is going to see if he can get a hold of Brian.
Janine's also.
We could still
called.
have a conversation. We might not be able to vote on anything, but since we're here, our problem on our side is Councilwoman Friedman has COVID and Councilman Scringy is on military leave. So we'd have to gain one more, I guess, from JC's side. I mean, not right at this moment, but if we do something, because we have till Saturday, is that my understanding? Friday, Monday? I'm assuming nobody wants to meet Saturday and Sunday, so we'd have to do something Thursday or Friday. On Monday, you mean? Okay. Well, while we decide the formalities of any vote or non-vote, does anybody have any thoughts and functionality that would expedite if let's say we have to meet Thursday or Friday, hopefully that meeting maybe could be really, really short. So I just open the floor for any conversation.
Yeah. Excuse me, yeah.
Yeah.
Question. So. Mayor, meeting, we can discuss this, we can't vote. Is that what you're saying for the most part?
Correct, yes,
Okay.
sir.
All right, so
The 9 votes are required to make changes. You don't need the supermajority if you're not going to make changes.
But if we don't vote at all, that by default will happen anyway, correct? I'm just being honest. If we don't vote at all, they're just gonna pass anyway, right?
Right, then it goes in, it's adopted if the time passes.
Right, which would be no changes. So it's almost like that would happen anyway. So there's,
all right, so forgive me, I wasn't here at the last meeting. How many within this budget, how many year contract are the workers having this budget?
5 years.
5 years. So can you go over what the increase is for, is it consistent for every year, the increase?
Yes, under the 2021 to 2025 collective bargaining agreement. What we have in the agreement, it's a 2.5% per year increase. And then we also agreed, because what their demand was and what the inflation environment is right now, which I think I sent you this, so you've seen this before. What the negotiating demand was, and we weren't prepared to do that. We have a cost of living adjustment that gets made. And the way that works is we have a 3-year moving average, which is why in this graph you see multiple lines. The thicker green line is the 3-year moving average number. And at the end of the year, when you tally up 36 months of that CPI, you get a factor. And if the factor is above 2.5%, the difference is an adjustment both retroactively for the year that just ended and prospectively in the wages going forward. And so that's how it's set up. And, we can't know right now what that's going to be at the start of 2023, because there's still 4 months of data to be collected. We have a sense that the inflation rate is high enough that it's going to trigger that, which is what, and it won't trigger it to the magnitude of what was being demanded in the negotiation. So I think we did a fair job for the ratepayers in coming up with this agreement with the union.
So if I'm understanding, is we're voting on a raise, we don't know what that raise is.
Right. There is a salary adjustment line in the budget that there's funding in there that we believe will be sufficient to address that when the calculation is made.
All right, so your best, estimate, what would the increase be in year one,
Well,
percentage wise?
Year one is already completed. We're in
Okay,
2022 is year two, and at the end of the year, based on what the trend looks like, the adjustment factor may be at 3.1%, which means then that there is a 0.6% differential. That's 3.1 minus 2.5, and that gets applied retroactively for 2022 and prospectively for 2023. So that's the equivalent of 3.7% increase.
so I don't know about Johnson City, obviously, but I'm looking at this from a standpoint of city council in Binghamton. I just want to read some numbers. So the two biggest contracts, obviously, police and firemen. So they didn't negotiate last year. So here's the police increases by year: 1.5%, 2.25%, 2.25%, 2%. Fire 2%, 2.25, 2.5, 2.25. So I know that the sewage board isn't worried about an increase of 3.7%, but from city council, I sure am worried about an increase of 3.7% when we're paying our cops and firemen a lot less. I could live with a 2.25, but I certainly can't live with a 3.7. And I certainly can't support voting yes on this budget with that increase. No disrespect to the workers.
We have a signed collective bargaining.
That's a done deal. Okay.
But there's some in here that aren't under that, correct?
Correct. You know, and I would point out with respect to the salaried and management employees that at about 5:15 a.m. on February 18th, 2022, there was a failure in the joint sewage treatment plant that a viewport was expelled from the CN cell treatment cell wall, which is still, it's got a green light, but it's not, there we go. I guess you have to be right up on it. You know, that where this viewport was expelled from the cell wall and it caused internal flooding. And the management and salaried employees are continuing to do, in my opinion, a stellar job stepping up to the plate to manage the recovery from this, the second failure that we've had from an owner capital project since I've been on the board. And they're invaluable and they deserve to be compensated, just like police and fire, or even more so for, you know, responding to this environmental emergency that affects the entire Chesapeake Bay watershed. And as a board member, I support this because I think it's fair. And, you know, they shouldn't be relegated to something less than what's provided under the collective bargaining agreement, in my opinion.
So the collective bargaining agreement was agreed to by the board. When was that agreed to? This current raises we're talking about.
Last year, as far as the formula, yes.
The mayors aren't involved in that decision. It's just completely the board's decision. Is that correct?
That's correct. Under the IMA, the sewage board is the employer of the employees of the plant.
I don't doubt they're working. I don't doubt they're working hard, and I praise them for working hard. But I just, again, I'm gonna live in city council here in the real world, and 3.7 isn't real world for me. Not when we're handing out 2.5 raises. But, and if it's done, nothing I can do about it, it is what it is. So I'm wasting my breath here, but I just don't, it's an absorbent raise. There's no doubt in my mind it is.
Could I point out the fact that the salaried staff that we're talking about, that was a one-time, 1 year rate. That wasn't guaranteed for all 5. That was one time. I'd like you guys all to consider the following. I just have a couple of things I'd like to read real quick. The reaction and mobilization to the Viewport failure on 2/18. Today is day 216 since 2/18. As of today, we are meeting all parameters of our speedies permit. 51 days after the restart of the facility. It took us 165 days to get the facility up and running. That was not due to anything other than us forcing contractors to the table. We 100% appreciate all of the budget changes, everything that everybody did to support us. But I will say that if we wouldn't have kept our foot on the contractors' necks, we'd still be messing around cleaning up. We cleaned up about 158 tons of media, reinstalled 158 tons of media in 5.5 months. That's unheard of. We have intimate knowledge of the way this system works and the previous system. That's why we were able to get this system up and running, meeting permit within 51 days. And I mean all parameters right now. We've been meeting the majority of the parameters for probably 3 weeks. I think everybody, unfortunately, I don't think everybody gets my weekly report. Please send me an email with your new email address. So I got 3 of them kicked back for this last week. I believe it was 1, 3, and 5. Districts 1, 3, and 5. Is it or is it not? District 1 at cityofbinghamton.gov. Is that still the routine you guys follow for email addresses? Okay. I'd like to make sure that everybody gets it because I take the time to write it up every week for you. I don't do it because I have nothing else to do. But 22 continuous months between April 2020 and February 2022, we met permit, which has been a long time coming. I think everybody here is aware of that. Our 2021 to 2022 budget were pretty decent. I think everybody here would agree on that as well. We have a 7-year look ahead, including a training policy for the future of the facility that I'm sure nobody here has even read. I'd be happy to send it to everyone. It covers everything at the facility. Okay. The credentials of the staff there, we have a master's of business administration as a business manager. This is 3.5 months of hard work with very sharp pencils. We're trying to find nickels and dimes here. Is it always going to be a negative on every single line? No, it isn't. It's impossible with chemical costs rising 22% in the last year. We have an electrical engineer, a mechanical engineer, Bachelor of Science in Environmental Science with a concentration on earth science and chemistry. We have a master plumber, a master electrician, a 4A wastewater treatment plant operator, 2 operator 4s. Operator 4 and a 4A are the 2 highest licenses you can get in the state of New York. We have a certified paramedic on staff. Between 10 salaried employees, you have 146 years of service, with the longest employee having 30 years. This unique skill set allowed us to react to and overcome the challenges we faced in recovering from a catastrophic failure that required staff to think outside the box and expedite the recovery to full compliance with our Speedies permit. We continue meeting the EPA's TMDL, which is the total maximum daily load. That's from the EPA and the Chesapeake Bay Commission, including when our secondary and tertiary treatments were down. We were doing so well prior to this event that we were able to absorb the impact of this event without breaking our TMDL. At the moment, we're presently staffed with 43 out of 47 positions. So when you make your decisions, I hope you take that into consideration. Thank you very much.
Mr. Wagner, I certainly am not questioning how hard the plan works and how hard you work. As I said, no disrespect to the workers. I just have a problem with a 3.7 versus 2.25 for and that's our city council problem, obviously. Thank you.
Councilwoman Riley, go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to apologize because we were trying to figure out if we could suspend the rules for our council person that is ill. So that's why I'm walking around. We're waiting on our corp counsel to tell us. Then if we are able to work it out, we will be able to vote today, okay? So that's what we're working on while you see us moving around and calling people. So just FYI, I was listening. But I do have a question since I have the floor. I know that you've been approved for 49 positions and you have 47 currently funded. This budget reflects all 49? No, okay.
So this budget reflects these 7 funded positions. The 49 positions there's 2 other positions that we don't fill right now. We utilize the funds from those positions and combine them for a computer, from a computer engineer to an electrical engineer.
In the organizational chart you were provided, those are the 2 pink in the center that are unfunded.
I'm gonna throw one out that's that I do at my work. I do this stuff too. And this is I know it's an arduous task. So this is a personnel line item, but it's not personal to any person. With the way things go to reduce the out of just the off the shelf package to lower out the front end. We're always under, which is because of vacancy factor. Why would it hurt to not put a vacancy factor in the budget? Just a general vacancy factor that doesn't target any position. Obviously, if we come back to it, we have contingency in here. Why couldn't we put a minus 100 or something in there as a vacancy? But we've been 300,000-400,000 below budget. So that doesn't take anything out of the budget. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
But just to
understand.
lower, we do that at the children's home, and typically we still come in even under that number. So I just wanted to throw that out there as a thought.
Yeah, the way things are going, it's extremely difficult. I'm sure everyone here
Yeah,
knows
workforce issues are
to
really challenging.
hire
Right.
right now. And I don't see us ever really getting to full employment. We had 45 for about 7 days, and then that went down to 44. 3 days later, we were at 43 again. Working at the sewage plant is not for everyone,
No, I know.
especially when we're staffed
Yeah.
24/7.
No, workforce challenges are a major issue. So I just wanted to throw that out there. We could discuss it in a second. The other one,
I'd like to also
Yeah.
speak to that. I think, that's an important idea. That's kind of like a negative reserve. But there's something else that could be borne in mind as well. The sewage board under the IMA has no authority to create any reserve or allowance like that. That's all reserved under section 7 of the IMA to the owners. We have to, when we budget, we have to consider the fact that the climate cycle being what it is, it goes up and down. And we may have a wetter than normal year next year, and we have to budget for that because we can't in the middle of the year say, oh, it's a wet year, we need more money. Because the municipalities have already set their sewer rates, sent out bills, and the estimated billings that are sent from the comptroller's office to the municipalities to pay for the joint sewage treatment plant are not flexible, at that point in the year. If it were possible to establish within the budget over time a wet weather reserve, I wouldn't want to fund it all at once because it'd be a big hit. That might be a mechanism whereby there could be a little more stabilization in the cost of the joint sewage treatment plant budget. I know that Comptroller Shager and he's talked to me about why does the budget go up and down? And, I've explained to him that if we wind up getting 6.8 billion gallons worth of influent in a wet year because the city and the village have combined sewers and that causes the flows to spike, we have to treat it and we have to have the electricity to pump it. And we have to have the chemicals that are required to neutralize it. But that doesn't happen every year. And there's years when there's a lower flow. And then that would be a year where you could build into such a reserve. So I
Okay.
just want to make you aware of that.
That's fine. I'm not sure what that has to do with consistently being under $400,000 on payroll. It's more of a generic, it's more of a simplistic question than that. Go ahead.
Excuse me.
So Mr.
Could-
Crum, you're saying that you can't put a negative factor in there as a vacancy factor, even though we know that we're not going to spend that much money on that line.
Could I answer?
Yeah.
So part of our process is for the superintendent and the business manager to start the budget process with all of our department heads. And then we bring that to the board. So as much as I think that your idea is pretty good, I like it. It seems very reasonable. And over the last 3 years that I've been sitting in this chair, I think it would work. But if I bring it to the board and 6 members don't feel the same way, that could certainly change. So I'm pretty flexible, and I think you've hit on a really good point.
So my larger
Please
point,
continue.
right, the larger point that I'm trying to make is like, I think in the most part, sometimes we have timing issues with our meetings and stuff like that. Expedited legislation, things like that. I think for the most part, you see that, at least from city council side, we try to respond quickly. And I don't know that I've ever voted no in the end for a budget transfer or something in an emergency standpoint that needed to be passed. So what I'm saying ultimately is there's got to be a few things in here that we can trim a little bit this front end cost for the ratepayers without affecting the operations. And everything you said was well taken, at least from my perspective, as far as I hope and I think everybody's doing a great job. I know everybody works hard, so I don't think anybody, at least I'm not questioning that even a little bit. But if we have some generic things, I also, I'm sensing that everything we say so far, so if we're saying that this is sacrosanct, everything that's in here, it's not. You know what I mean? I think there's some general things that we could look at, and I'm hoping that some other people have some ideas as well. But if there's another way to do that, then whether you take out a specific position, then add it in later. I'm sure there's a way that you could do that without, I don't know the IMA like Mr. Crum does, but I'm confident that we could do that if we wanted to or had the willingness to do it. My other question is, then I'll yield, is I know you said there's the inflation factor or whatever else. We know, everybody knows supply chain inflation. We all know that. It's still $302,000 on chemicals. Is that really, do we really think it's going to be $302,000 more? I just want to make sure, I mean, and it could be absolutely yes. And that one I would back off on immediately.
That is a definite yes. Methanol, we just received the bid. Try to remember, we're starting this budget process at the end of May. Okay. Our methanol bid was not due until September. So we just got an increase. We had anticipated maybe 15 cents, but it's 2.10, and that's locked in for a year. We use a certain amount of methanol every day. We average between 9 and 930 gallons a day. I'm sure that everybody thinks that's probably a ballpark figure, but no, it isn't. That's based on 2021's flow data and our daily consumption of methanol. I did that calculation myself to ensure that we were right. What we're doing right now is extremely important to me. It's very personal and professional. I take my job very, very seriously. And I want you folks to understand that we have gone through every single gallon. I've asked that man right there, Ron Warwick, the assistant superintendent, to turn down the methanol on several occasions last year to ensure we didn't break. I hate coming to folks asking for more money or for a transfer from this line to that line. I'll be more comfortable doing that in the future because it seems like that's kind of how this is going to work.
That's enough on that point. I just wanted to, I mean, it was just a big number and I just wanted to, like I said, I'm not gonna pick every line, but I just wanted to make sure, we also have $212,000 in contingency, which is I think a decent number that can feed, some of these things too, if we end up, trimming something to get the package price down.
It is a $25 million budget, 10%.
I think we only have 25,000 or zero on a $100 million budget. So that's still a pretty healthy number, quite frankly. Councilwoman Resident, go ahead.
Thank you, President Strong, and thank you everyone for being here. I do want to say thank you for all the hard work that you've done putting this together. And my apologies, I wasn't able to join you guys last week. So one of the things that I wanted to say, is exactly what you just brought up. So thank you for that. I thought we had 190,000 in contingency, and my question was, is there any way that can help us? Just cutting back a little bit. But my other comment question is electricity. When we're looking at where we could, make it a little more palatable to the taxpayer, it tends to be.
You got to put it right in front of you. Like,
You didn't hear anything? Should I start from scratch?
no.
Okay, so yeah, electricity, it tends to be, and I don't have in front of me, if I remember correctly from when I looked at it last time, under budget. Is there any way we can just cut back a little bit on electricity? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, we took about 50,000 off of one line on the electrical budget this year. I'm looking for it right now. I'm gonna bring it up.
Okay.
The other thing to note in that is that the electricity rates are going up like everything else. And we have to, as I mentioned before, we have to budget for an above average wet weather year, which includes the electricity for pumping, which is a significant expense. We don't have we don't have the ability as the board under the IMA to create a reserve. That's something you as the owners could do. That's why I brought it up earlier.
Is it on
Excuse
that
me.
little sheet with the tiny little letters?
Yes,
Looking for it.
so I'm looking at 54,202. J8130. 54,202. You can see that we reduced that by 50,000. And then we reduced the electricity at the plant pump station 65,000, and we reduced the electricity at the terminal pump station 15,000. So there's it
Thank you.
has about $130,000.
Just as an update, we are not able to suspend our rules for our additional council person that's watching via YouTube. So we will have to proceed and move into selecting another date.
My understanding of the rules is the only items that we could affect with this group here tonight is the capital lines for the capital budget. Go ahead, Mr. Crum.
There's one other thing that I don't know whether any of you are aware of or not, but we got an email from our fiscal officer and city comptroller Chuck Shager at 5:12 p.m. Friday evening, where he indicated that reductions could be made in the city's local systems costs and the city's debt service. In a conversation I had with him, he also indicated it might be possible for the village to make some changes in its debt service also based on the same factors, but I can't speak for the village, and it may be that the people that would need to be consulted on that aren't at this meeting anyhow. But I just wanted to bring that up, that per his email on page 9 of 26, the contractual local systems costs of 3.2 million, the top line there could be reduced to $3,778, $3,000,778. And then on page 12, on page 12 of 26, the second line down, which is the city's debt service, which is in the proposed budget at $6,038,333 per Chuck Shager's email, could be reduced to $5,551,740. Let me start over. $5,551,000, $745. 5,551,745. Go ahead.
Okay, it looks like the 2023 proposed budget number that you have should be 27,483,065,57, right? And with the changes from Mr. Shager, that would reduce that number. The new revised number would be 25,374,338,56. Is that right? Okay. These numbers actually came from Billy Goodson, our business manager. So I'm pretty confident that she's right.
And she consulted with me, so I think we're on the same page on that.
What's that?
The question was if we were going to adopt the changes, the new numbers that we were waiting on post the finalization of the budget from our mayor. And it's based upon this body here, if we need to adopt the new numbers in order for this budget to pass, we can make that decision.
What's not necessary though?
So based upon the numbers that we just received, we could, I mean, it was an estimate. Now that we have better numbers because we were awaiting the final
So is
budget,
that considered an amendment or not? That to be
we
voted on?
would have to accept those changes if we wanted to, but we don't have to because we don't have the body to do it. I mean,
But we still have to have 9 votes to do that,
exactly.
even if
That's
it
what I'm
was an
saying.
easy vote.
Oh,
When this IMA was passed, the owner's cost was not part of this budget. Okay, we implemented that sometime in 2018, I believe. Okay, the last IMA was done in amendment, I think, was done in 2015. And the way the IMA is written, it's talking about capital cost and operational cost. Okay, this is really neither of them. Okay, it's really, excuse me. Right. But it's, even if you change capital, it would change too. Okay, I mean, Sharon or Brian's not here, Cheryl, to make a decision, but in my opinion, it's really not in that section. Okay, but I, not the attorney, I mean, it's. Yep.
I just asked, I just sent a text to see if they could get somebody from corporate counsel down here. Does anybody have anything else in general? Go ahead. Wait, let's get him a mic. So we can hear him. No, kind of, but I don't think everybody can.
we are live broadcasting, of course, for our constituents, and they can't hear you if you're not on the mic.
Okay, name's George Kova. I'm chair of the sewer board, and since I've got both parties here, I guess I'm a little confused. We try not only to do what's best for the ratepayers, but for the owners. And we try to make the budget as close and as precise as possible. But the one consequence is if you cut it too far, who's going to be responsible for paying the bill? It won't be the sewer plant. It's going to be the 2 owners. So I just want to advise you, if you chop it down too far, you might be asking for trouble, especially the way the chemicals are increasing and going out. We'd have never had this trouble back 15 years, 20 years ago before they signed this Chesapeake Bay Area. And once they took that money from that, we're under the tightest restrictions in New York State. We have to follow the toughest guideline right now. So this is the predicament. They didn't take the advice before. If you turn around and take the budget down too far, both of yous are going to have to find out how to pay for it. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't think anybody's talking about doing anything remotely like that. Not even close. I don't even know what that means. Nobody's even talking about that. I know what you're saying, but nobody's even coming close to talking about and cutting it to that. And it comes to us anyway to add money back in. Of course, we would be responsible to pay. And like I said before, I've never voted no for anything for the sewer plant. So I don't even know what that comment was about. Does anybody else have anything? What? So you guys don't have any, you don't want to make any, so nobody really, so everybody's saying that this is. We already said that it's a generally speaking a good budget, but to me, did I have any ideas how to take a little bit of that 6%, $600,000 is a little bit disconcerting, to be honest with you. If you went all through every single thing, no, we're not, the big stuff is fine. But if that's the way it is, then that's fine. It sounds to me like we wouldn't even be close to 9 votes on any of these things anyway. So we might as well just vote on it. Right? What do you guys think? Because if it is, let's say it doesn't, we don't accept it, it's going to go back to this original budget anyway, which it appears everybody thinks is the best thing that's ever happened. So we might as well just vote,
Whoa,
right?
whoa, President, I don't like your tone with the best thing that ever happens.
Okay.
I don't think that that's proper. We were prepared. We had all our questions answered at the first meeting. We had our numbers, we had our questions. And
I
they were
didn't have my
answered.
questions. I have more, I understand that I have more questions and I'll take responsibility for that. That's my
But
fault.
to
But
say that we think this
I'm
is
just
the best
saying-
thing ever, I think that's a little offhanded. Thank
Okay.
you.
I'd like to come back to the numbers. At the first meeting, the revisions that were discussed at that time took $25,402 out of the budget. The additional revisions from the city's local systems costs and debt service takes $692,314 out of the budget. That's a total of $666,912 out of the budget, for a total budget of $25,374,338.56.
okay. So what should we do? What's everybody? So to even make the changes that Mr. Shager proposed, we have to have 9 votes, correct? So we'll have to have another meeting either Thursday or Friday. But then even those changes can't go in, correct? Can we get 9 people? I mean, even if it's a 5-minute meeting, can we get 9 people here tomorrow?
Can we do it on Zoom?
I don't think we can. Because the governor changed that emergency declaration. But even that wouldn't have allowed that. You'd have to have a quorum in the room and that wouldn't have allowed that anyway. Who,
I know that I won't be available. Trustee Jacina's in Connecticut for work. And I don't know if Trustee Gilman's going to be available. So without those 3, that leaves trustee, we wouldn't have a quorum on Johnson City's end.
can Aviva come and sit like up in the corner? I'm just. No, that's tomorrow. So you're going to be gone Monday. So really, we're talking about 2. Mr.
Aviva
Giblin
just
and
messaged that she can come Monday.
who?
Aviva will be cleared by
But
Monday.
these guys can't, you can't, and Mr. Giblin can't, right? What? How about Friday? Can we do something during the day, lunchtime? I'm just trying to come up with because it'd be nice to at least get these changes that everybody would agree upon in here.
Mr. Crum, if the,
I'm not available on Friday during the day.
I can come by. My office is pretty
I'm not
close.
available either.
Again, our numbers will not change before Monday. And if they need to speak with their council people, then we probably shouldn't make the decision now. Because again, we know our numbers will be the same until Monday.
And there's no process to amend the budget later or anything like that. I mean, Ed, you know the IMA back
That's what I
and
was
forth.
gonna say, that even if the sun sets on Monday and you haven't been able to take any action. The budget is deemed adopted as proposed, but I would think, just like you can make any budget modifications by legislation, request for legislation in your respective municipalities, that it might be possible to do that. I mean, we'd have to have the owners check with their legal counsel on that, but I'm just thinking out loud on that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes. Go ahead.
why was nobody from Corp Council here?
I've asked, I just texted. I'm not sure.
It doesn't make any sense.
I don't know that answer.
I knew we had a meeting.
I just sent a text to that effect and I've not got an answer. What's that?
Mr. President, if the meeting's noticed with a Zoom component for the councilwoman that's got COVID, I know that we've done that in Johnson City before. We've been, the Joint Sewage Treatment Plant has done it with one of their members who was in Florida. And we've had no, this was prior to COVID.
I think what
This was allowed.
Right. I think what Councilwoman Riley is talking about is that I think you have something in place already and we don't. We like a local ordinance or
We
a
didn't
local
have a
rule that
local
allows
law
that.
that included.
We're talking about
No.
doing that, but that can't happen before.
Right, but
Monday.
I think with all open meetings law, the OML, that if you advertise that you have a remote site and people can go to that remote site,
You have to tell them they can technically go
they
there
can
too.
technically go there, that opens up your Zoom availabilities.
So can we do that for this, for us to pass this budget? So it couldn't be tomorrow, but any day after Friday, it could theoretically be.
Myself, trustee Brown, trustee Jacina, and trustee Giblin are available before 2:00 tomorrow. That's correct. That's only if we do the with.
Can we have a meeting tomorrow before 2:00 if there's none of the Zoom things? If we don't adjourn this meeting and text me. They have 2 additional members that could be available before 2 o'clock tomorrow in person. So we're trying to figure out, is that even possible?
Oh,
No, not at 2, but before. Is there any time before 2 you can make? There's nobody else. Is there anybody else that they did the same thing, could do it from remotely? If they did the same thing that she's talking about? Or whoever. Because it's not limited to one person, right? We would just have to agree that those, whoever, so is anybody on Friday that can't be here physically, could they be on the, what could we do? A conference call, Zoom? What are we talking about?
I'm not sure Friday's gonna work for our board, to have a quorum on our side, but what time Friday would? Understood. So,
But wait a minute, who? Are you guys, you said you're not available Friday, right?
so again, can we have enough tomorrow before 2? Then what if we did the executive session and keep it open until a meeting resumes tomorrow?
No? We, yes, we can. We don't have, I already checked on that. We absolutely can. Well, we're open. We'll be done in a second. We do absolutely can stay as long as we need to. Yep. I don't want to. I'm not disagreeing with you in that sense, but. So even, no, Monday, I know you're not here. There's no, even if it's 5 minutes, like a Zoom or something that you could. The people that are, and maybe there's not, I'm just trying to think of all, maybe we just need to adjourn and have, have Lee just poll everybody. Is there any scenario that works? Either the Zoom posting, knowing that we have to have 24 hours notice for whatever we decide. I guess that's the gist of it.
We're only gonna be here.
Right.
Saturday, Saturday morning.
I could do that. Is that all morning? Yeah, do that. We'll bring donuts. We'll bring Manny's Donuts from the beautiful south side of Binghamton. What's that? If it's 10 minutes or less, could anybody do 9 o'clock on Saturday morning? Yes, we do. We had, I'm checking. Right now. You're not available for 5 minutes on Saturday morning?
President Strong.
What?
We would still need Jacina or Giblin or Friedman to be there for Saturday. We would still need an extra member to be there for Saturday.
Well, so you'd still have to check with your Lee, I think we need to adjourn and I know it's a little bit of a hassle, but if you could, I think you're just gonna have to check with everybody. Is there any, I don't know if we have one of those doodle polls or just poll everybody, just say, is there what's your availability between now and Monday? And if you can spell out the Zoom scenario where you would have to technically say where you are as an option, would you be willing to do that? And if we don't have 9 at any scenario, then it's just gonna, I guess it's just gonna pass by default. Unless we think we should just vote now. But then with those changes then there's not even a chance for those to go in. Right.
President Strong,
Yep.
we could have 4 from Johnson City. I'm still waiting on trustee Giblin for Saturday at 9 for a 10-minute meeting.
You have 4?
Yep.
So we would only have, but with Councilwoman Friedman. But then that would be 5. So he would be available at 9 o'clock. Would he be remote so you would have 4 at 9 o'clock Saturday?
Correct, it's trustee Jacina.
And we could announce Councilmember Friedman in that scenario that was just spelled out. Okay.
I think we should go ahead and.
Is everybody okay with that? So the people that can come will be here at 9 o'clock on Saturday. Can we do that?
Yes.
Can we go to Johnson City instead? Because we're supposed to share these meetings.
We can go
that
wherever.
work?
I'm okay with going there.
Because I've got a 10 o'clock interview.
I'm
so
fine,
if we end up
absolutely.
Going over our 10 minutes.
I have
it'll be
no
easier
problem
for
with
me.
that.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We can absolutely do that. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, I'm happy to let the Johnson City Clerk set that up.
Okay, so I just want to make sure we're on the same page. So we're going to have a meeting at 9 o'clock on Saturday morning in the Johnson City offices. 8 of us will be, as of right now, 8 of us will be in the room, and Council Member Aviva Friedman will be Zoom. So we need to announce that as part of the announcement. Is everybody okay with that? Okay, so Lee, you can contact the JC clerk and set that up.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. I apologize for my tone a minute ago. I know everybody has the best of that wants the best for this plan. So I apologize for that a little bit, but I do think that we can, but I think people heard what I said. I want that too. And sometimes there's differences of opinion. And so I apologize for that. And with that, I'd take a motion to adjourn this meeting. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for your
Yes.
time.
Okay, for anybody, we apologize to people here for the city council meeting. We're going to take a 5-minute or less restroom break and let some of our other members from the sewer Johnson City partners leave or stay if they want to, and we will be right back. Thank you. What's that? Huh? I think so, especially on a Saturday morning, there should be.